have found that there really are these 5 things that are really essential for couples to deal with in conflict. And the first one, all of these things I've kind of touched on already, but the first thing is to stay calm. That physiological response is really important when you're trying to solve a problem. So this is not, when we talk about fighting with somebody, we don't normally think of ourselves in a Zen-like state, and I'm not suggesting that that you always will be. It's very difficult to be in a conflict and to stay calm. But just to remember that conflict indicates that there is a problem here to be solved. This is a lot of this research is very similar to peace and conflict studies, to conflict resolution in many, many different fields, not just between individuals, but also between nations and communities, and all the conflict resolution research in many ways says similar things. And so we just need to, if you're about to pick a fight with your spouse, there's actually a problem there that needs to be solved. And to solve a problem, you need to be able to have a constructive conversation about it, to be able to access the parts of your brain that will allow you to be creative and think of solutions to a problem. And you aren't going to be able to access that part of your brain if you're flooded, if you're having a strong physiological response to it. It changes the way we think, it changes the way we perceive our partners. So high levels of physiological arousal, I know all of you know this, but I think it's worth saying again, high levels of physiological arousal make it very, very difficult for us to listen. It makes problem solving very difficult. Somebody who is flooded, who's having a strong physiological response to something emotional that's happened, tend to repeat themselves again and again. This is not creative problem solving. It's and they're not necessarily listening. So the way to deal with this is that if you need to have this good fight, but you're feeling flooded, you're feeling like you're having a big physiological response, is to take a break from what you're doing. I actually have a really hard time stopping myself from initiating the conflict, but then can realize, oh, this isn't going to go well. I need to calm down. So you just agree on a time later to come back and to discuss the problem. Now, the key thing, for me anyway, I have found, is to go do something which actually calms me down. And when I first started doing this, a lot of the research recommends, or the experts recommend, going to meditate, do a little meditation. Well, that doesn't work for me very well because I just sit and I ruminate about the conflict that I'm supposed to be calming down from. So, or, journaling is another thing. Go write about your feelings and hopefully calm down. Well, no, I just make bullet points about why I'm right. So for me, I have to go for a run or for a walk to clear the adrenaline out of my system. So knowing for you what's really going to calm you down, if it's just going to go to distract yourself, watch a little television, let your physiology recover. That's what we're after. Let your heart rate drop down, clear the adrenaline out of your system, open back up the perspective that you need, the problem-solving parts of your brain. You can also try and pay attention to the escalation of things when your partner is really angry. It's really quite a skill. Not all people can do it, but if you can, remain neutral when somebody else is angry with you. So the most natural and common response, if you're being yelled at or somebody's expressing anger towards you, is to express it back. And if you can instead move your attention to your breath and just think, I'm going to remain calm now at this, I would like to remain calm and focus on your breath. The research shows that can have a really incredibly positive and calming effect for the other person as well. So another way to cope with anger in a conflict or to remain calm is to just narrate your intentions. So you can say, you know what, I can feel myself getting really defensive right now. Instead of saying something defensive, narrating, I can feel myself getting defensive, and I don't want to be defensive in this situation. I don't want to react with anger in this situation. that oftentimes, that little moment of mindfulness can really give you the space that you need to remain calm. And there is Bob Levinson has done some interesting research that shows that one of the best ways to remain calm during conflict is, of course, I know you can all guess this, humor. So we're going to talk a little bit later about what, that's one of those things. There's an awful lot of research that it's like, so couples who are able to fight and remain calm while they're fighting, they use humor to keep calming themselves down. Well, that's one of those things that's a little easier said than done. You can't really say, okay, well, I'm really pissed off at you right now, but I'm going to tell a joke, and that will make me calm. It doesn't. We all know that humor doesn't really work that way. But what we're going to talk about this afternoon is creating that type of relationship in which humor during conflict is highly likely.